So on that, you mentioned how Australia is approaching this online problem.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on it? Like, do you think this is the right approach of saying, 16 below, no go, 16 and up, you're completely fine? And like, what are the other things to consider? Because as you mentioned earlier, ChatGPT isn't a social media tool and it's only
Yeah.
13 plus. So technically a 13-year-old can use something like ChatGPT to be online.
No.
Yeah, can
In
no.
short, no. The reason is we we said a long, long time ago, no sex until you're 16. And then what we had to do and I know this because I used to be a relationship sex education teacher, is then we had to go and create sexual health services where certainly in the United Kingdom, we will hand out contraception to 13 plus because we know that younger than 16 engage in the behaviours that we said no to. We know that children under the age of 18 in the United Kingdom drink alcohol, even though the age of being able to go and purchase it and drink it is 18. We know that children are vaping and using cigarettes and driving and. What I think is a hasty decision has been made in an attempt to try and prevent some of the accidental happenings of children being contacted by adults for sextortion or happening upon certain types of content. The issue I've personally got is it's not been applied to the other environments like we've just talked about: gaming, websites, children who are using Google Docs where people can contact each other, and Spotify. It's not been applied to video on demand services in many cases. It's just not comprehensive enough because we're trying to age gate and pull back in a global borderless issue. So I don't think it's the right approach. I think it's an approach that's being taken in an attempt to try and placate the panic.
Do you think it's a step in the right direction? Or do you think it should have
Oh yeah.
been like before doing anything, consider, okay, it's not just social media, it's other
Hmm.
aspects.
Yeah. We should have had these. I mean, this is the horse gate bolted, rearranged, a well-known sentence. The horse has well and truly gone. What we're now trying to do is attempt to put a guardrail around an environment that we don't necessarily know how to do that, because what we actually need is a global approach. What we currently have are country specific rules and regulations and the ways in which certain countries want to do this. For example, Finland or one of the Scandinavian countries wants to change it to 15. And as a child development specialist, I'm like, what's the difference between 15 and 16? Are we looking at chronology or are we looking at maturity? And what happens if you're in Finland or in Australia and you're allowed to access it? Well, who is going to regulate this? It just really, really hasn't been thought
Mm.
through. And it doesn't make sense when the server that provides the data connection is in one country, the hosting company is in another country, the platform developer lives in another country, and the children who use it live in another country. It just
Mm.
isn't going to work in a way that's going to protect children.
Yeah, and I guess like there's going to be so much imbalances in the world going from like different ages, and then they'll feel that that it's unfair if you live
Hmm.
here and you can access this, but then you can't access this. But for example, how you were
Yep.
talking about Roblox and other games like that, can you still be playing that in Australia?
Yeah.
Is that like
Yep.
so that's not considered social media at all? Yeah, it's highly social.
Yes. And you can share assets, you can talk to people, you can arrange to meet them on non-social media platforms. Yeah. It's
Right.
almost like a good attempt with the right intent. And I'm not trying to kind of shame the approach here, but this is very similar to the Chicken Little. We're panicking, we're saying make it go away, and the reason people are trying to make it go away is because they're frightened. So if you kind of step back and do a bit of a meta perspective, people are frightened. They don't know how to monitor those digital city parks. They don't know how to make them safer. Sadly, the technology industries didn't make them safe enough for children in the first instance. And now we have government pointing towards tech companies pointing towards parents, parents pointing towards teachers, teachers pointing to, and this has been going on for 15, 20 years. And the children sit in the middle. And sadly, the perpetrators of crimes against children also sit in the middle, rubbing their hands, going, this lot couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery.
Yeah. It's such a tricky conversation to have, especially being a dad of two younger girls. I guess, I'm personally invested in this conversation and that's why I was, when I was saying and I was reaching out, like, I'm really interested in your work and I love what you're doing because like I'm online, like you're online, like on social media, for example. But I've always felt a bit different with social media because for me, there's always been a bit of a purpose behind it. It's always been to work, it's, I want to share educational, content. I also want to, market what I do for work, transformations that I've achieved or pass on, valuable content. So when people do think of transforming their body, they consider working with me, like I've always felt like I'm not really perusing around trying to get up to mischief or anything like that. So I see social media in a very different light where it's more of kind of like a game. It's like, okay, like it's kind of outside of Brock. Like my personality, my identity isn't really, what am I going to find on Instagram to watch and laugh and, send to my friends and stuff like that. I do that every now and then, but I'm more getting on there. Okay, I've made this video. There's captions, I'll put this at the start. I'll try to do a hook like it's a game for me. It's part of work. So I've never really, I guess, let's say, struggled with the online world, whatever platform I'm on. So I find that for me, I'm a little bit scared that I'm out of touch for, like, my kids are 1 and 3. I think I have a little bit of time, but I still want to be ready, even though I'm on it. I still kind of have no idea of some of the terms you've been saying. Like, you're kind of losing me with some of the online terms. So I don't want to be, too far gone.
From one parent to another, you already have these skills, okay? And this is, if anybody takes anything from this conversation, what we do with our children is we talk to them about environments. We talk to them about how the world works, okay? So I'm going to try and do this in a really simple way. Let's talk about Peppa Pig or Bluey, right? Generally,
Bluey, let's go Bluey.
Okay, so there are a lot of parents who are sitting down and watching some of this media on a television with their children, or they sit at the side of them whilst they're on their iPad. What I would be saying is, and I'm just going to give an example from Peppa Pig because I know Peppa Pig picks on her brother George quite a bit, right?
All right.
Why do you think Peppa Pig does that to George? Why do you think she trips him up? That's not very kind behaviour, is it? Okay, what you're actually doing is setting the scene for the kind of content that your child might happen upon later on in these environments, because as much as we try to regulate social media, others will crop up. You can talk about fairness. You can talk about nakedness in terms of, why does Kermit not wear any clothes, but Miss Piggy does in the Muppets? Why does Pooh Bear only have a t-shirt but no shorts? What we can do is then start to talk to them about appropriate and inappropriate clothing, appropriate and inappropriate conversations that might happen from the risk of contact, the risk of conduct, the risk of content. You begin to have conversations about those risks by doing it with daily examples. And that's really what I did with my children in terms of, how do you know that? How do you know that's the truth? Well, the teacher said, okay, where did the teacher get their information from? How do we know that this specific video is truthful? And that's some of the things that we're really going to have to understand about AI content. Is it real? Is it made up? It happened to Andrew Huberman. I know that Andrew Huberman took legal action over it. I've seen that lots and lots of influencers are taken by these AI programs and are creating, here's a 6-week perfect body program, just sign up here. And actually, it turns out it was AI generated. It turns out to be a scam, and people give away their details because actually, as the adults, we need to learn this.
Yeah, well, I recently received a DM. It was yesterday, and some guy sent me a video, and he was like, "Oh, look, creatine's bad for your kidneys." And there's a lot of research that says it isn't bad for your kidneys unless you have potential kidney problems.